Good evening. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting of the Castle County Board of Commissioners. And before we proceed, I would like to offer the board's condolences to Mr. Hall's family. He was a longtime member of this board. Starting off tonight's meeting, I would ask that you all bow your heads for a moment of silent prayer. Thank you. We will proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up tonight, we have an action item. It's the recommendation for the interim commissioner position. Included in the agenda was a letter from the Democratic Party, and they are nominating Antonio Foster. And I'll open up the floor to discussion on this.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we nominate Wayne Foster to vote until next place.
We won't have any discussion on it before we go into that.
He just made the motion and had a discussion.
Go ahead. I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, now I'll open it up for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll address my comments to Mr. Miller. Commissioner Hall's District 4, I believe, correct? Okay. Once the district lines were redrawn in 2022, that were approved by the board as it sat then, in my mind, those lines became the law of the land. I understand that the district that former Commissioner Hall was elected out of is not the same district as it is today. Am I correct on that, right?
That's correct.
My question is, the District 4 that the county has now, does Mr. Foster reside in that district?
No, he does not. If you'll allow me, Mr. Commissioner York, we went through this process a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago, when Commissioner Bill Carter passed. It was determined at that time by both the state and by our county attorney that the old district was the district in which the nomination needed to come from. So both the state and our county attorney have said the old district is the correct district to pick this representative from.
Mr. Miller, who made that call that the old district was one of the county attorney?
Is your microphone?
Who made that call? Excuse me, could you repeat that as to which district he was selected from?
It was the state. The state made the determination for the Democratic Party, but interestingly enough, our county attorney made the same determination independently from the state because of the way the ordinance read that passed the new district.
In that ordinance, is there anything that states the timeline for one's party affiliation before they can be considered? And the reason I ask that, and I may have my timeline be wrong, But from what I understand, Mr. Hall passed away on the 16th. The party met on the 28th to pick a replacement. On the 31st, the letter is dated, the one that was sent to the commissioners. But Mr. Foster changed his party affiliation from independent to Democrat on the morning of January the 30th, around 8:46. Does that disqualify him from being the replacement?
It's my understanding, the way the statute reads, it does not. The only prerequisite is that the recommendation, the person in the recommendation has to be the Democrat on the day of appointment. It doesn't say in the statute on the day of appointment, but I believe that's the way it reads.
What statute are you referencing? I'd like to see some of this stuff in writing because this is getting a little confusing to me.
I know to do that and tell us what the statutes are.
I know that if you change your party affiliation within 90 days of a primary, you're disqualified from running in that primary to be a commissioner. So I'm wondering how that affects someone coming in so late, changing parties to become a Democratic appointee. In my opinion, that's just not fair to the voters of that district. They're not getting fair representation of the Democratic Party.
Mr. Farrell, do you have any information on that quicker than maybe I can find it?
Sure, I'm just pulling up General Statute 153A27 now. And that's the statute that controls appointments in the event of vacancy. And subsection C of General Statute 153A27 reads, to be eligible for appointment to fill a vacancy, a person must, 1, be a member of the same political party as the member being replaced, if that member was elected as the nominee of a political party, and 2, be a resident of the same district as the member being replaced, if the county is divided into electoral districts. So those are the two criteria that are listed in the statute. So in my mind, to be eligible on the date of appointment, which conceivably could be today, that person must be, as of today, a member of the same political party as the member being replaced and reside in the same district. And in this case, that would be the district from which Commissioner Hall was elected from. And we looked at that with Commissioner Carter's appointment, and I haven't looked at that again in connection with this appointment, but that is the determination that was made at the time of Carter's replacement.
So by state law, it's perfectly fine to install somebody to that seat that is not in district of the people that they're representing and that will not be qualified to run for re-election at the end of that 2-year term.
He would be a resident of the same district as the member being replaced. So the same district that Hall was elected from, he would be a member of. But conceivably, yes, if the district lines have changed as they have, he would not be eligible to run in that district if he doesn't reside in that district at the time of the election. That's correct.
Any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I did read Mr. Foster's bio, which is very extensive. He has done a great, tremendous service to.
Can you speak into your mic, please?
He has done a great, tremendous service to this country. Very impressed with it. And I would like to thank him for that service and that and being willing to serve on this board to finish out Mr. Hall's
Well, if there are no further comments,
Mr. Chairman, one more thing. And I don't know exactly how I want to word this, but, I don't know Mr. Foster. You know, I just don't. I think that's my fault. But I have a problem installing someone or seating a commissioner in a district where we have new lines drawn. With all due respect, nothing against him, but to me, the voters of District 4, as it stands now, are not being fairly represented, so to speak. I don't know any other way to word what I'm trying to say. Maybe Mr. Foster is the most qualified candidate the County Democratic Party can come up with. I don't know, evidently he is. I know that it was done last year for Commissioner Carter's seat, but that was only like a few months before the general election. Mr. Carter's seat, he was going to be up anyhow. This is for a 2-year term, more or less. I just cannot vote in favor of it tonight. Sorry.
I understand, and I have similar concerns, especially the late transition to the Democratic Party. I think that is a disservice to the Democrats in that district. I think I would rather see a nominee that was a longtime Democrat, or at least had been a Democrat for 90 days, for the 90-day period leading up to the appointment. I myself cannot support it. But with that said, are there any more comments before we take a vote?
One question for the county manager. Ms. Miller, how long can this seat stay open? You know, worst comes to worst. Worst case scenario, I'm speaking of.
So, since the date of the vacancy, the board has 60 days to replace. If the board does not replace, it goes to the clerk of court.
Goes where it's all. To the clerk.
To the clerk of court, who then will place the commissioner.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I know that we are talking about this, but we had 2 people that filed. So the Democratic Party told me lately. So we still got another person. If Mr. Foster don't go before you get to your 60 days, it was 2 people filed for that job, for that opening. But we're not gonna leave this down and go to 6 days or somebody don't like what, don't understand what's going on. So we got another person, and it just don't work. We definitely got it.
Any other comments? No more comments. We will vote on whether or not to approve Mr. Foster to the position of interim commissioner. A yes vote is to approve him to that position. Roll call vote. Commissioner Pinchot?
No.
Commissioner Rhodes? Yes. Commissioner Tim Yarborough?
No.
Commissioner Jeffries?
Yeah.
Commissioner McVeigh?
Yes.
And Commissioner Dickerson is a no. Ms. Miller, I would ask that you would contact the Democratic Party and see if they would give us another candidate to consider at the next meeting. With that said, we'll move on to public comments, sir. In the public.
What is the answer on this? If we're gonna do the other person that filed for this, that you vote this thing? We don't have to wait 6 days, but we got 2 people filed for that thing. Correspond to the Democrats.
What's the proper procedure here?
Commissioners, I know we had one recommendation. The board, the statute says that the Democratic Party shall make a recommendation. They've done that. That's the extent of their obligation. And it says the board can appoint. If you want another recommendation, I can certainly speak to those in charge of the Democratic Party and ask for that.
Mr. Jeffries said they had two. Can you contact them and see who the other candidate is so we make it certain?
I'll contact them and let them know that you would like another recommendation.
Thank you, sir.
And for clarity, Mr. Chairman, the statute reads that the commissioners or the clerk of court, as the case may be, shall consult with the county executive committee of the appropriate political party before filling the vacancy, but neither the board nor the clerk of court is bound by the committee's recommendation. So just to flesh out what the statute says on the topic.
So we're at the point where the committee's recommendation was not approved. So
Right.
from your standpoint, what do we do next, Mr. Attorney?
Yeah, I think it's fine. You're consulting. I mean, what you've asked for is to continue the consultation with the party. And if they're interested in forwarding another name, I think it would be appropriate for them to do that. But if not, then I believe you've received a recommendation and you can proceed to fill the vacancy. But I think it's appropriate to ask if they have some additional feedback as you consult with them.
Back to what I said earlier.
Yes, we can definitely ask them.
If there are no more comments on that, we'll move on to public comments, and Elaine Claggett is first.
My name's Elaine Claggett. I reside at 108 J Lane, Providence, North Carolina. I request that public comment be recorded verbatim. On December 5th, 2022, quote, County Manager Miller said, I can only remember 1 year that we had this second meeting in December. It's usually canceled. In spite of business to discuss, 3 new commissioners voted to cancel their second meeting. The government website posts December meetings as 1 in 2021, 3 in 2020, 3 in 2019, and 4 in 2018. So who will you believe next time? There's also an award for excellence from 2018 audit that's posted. The 2019 audit was filed in November 2019. The 2020 audit was delayed until June of 2021 and had significant deficiencies. On November 9th, 2021, the finance director wrote, the anticipated completion date for the 2021 audit was December 31st, 2021. The amended timeline is now April 2023. Why does it take 22 months for an annual financial report? Over 95% of the counties and municipalities have filed their 2021 audit by last March. So the software is not the problem. A year ago, Dr. Fuller from North Carolina Open Government Coalition intervened on my behalf when I was stonewalled by county management regarding a FOIA request about the same audit. In 2022, the auditor's contract was for $54,750 and a consultant CPA's contract for $75,000. Neither have reported to this board. Why? Since 2020, the finance department salaries have increased 175%, and their total budget has risen from $247,000 to $455,000. Last year, total payments were not deposited into retirement accounts for 8 months. This year, W-2 forms weren't mailed until February 2nd. Commissioner Yarborough asked, how close are we to having our finances taken over by the state? The quasi-known answer was that Caswell has already been on the state's watch list for 2 years with no end in sight in 2023. Ms. Edmondson of the North Carolina Treasurer answered me that they are, quote, aware that the Caswell County is significantly behind on its annual audits. We are monitoring the situation closely, end quote. Meanwhile, 70% of North Carolina counties have already filed their 2022 fiscal year budget. As you know, council can't begin their 2022 budget until the prior audit is complete and a new auditor is hired. As you start the planning sessions for 23-24, know that your last available completed audit dates back to the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020. Over the past 3 years, the county's total budget has increased 20%, from 35.1 to 36.8 to $42.9 million. Pre-COVID money's over, the population's unchanged and cannot sustain this increased spending with no accountability. Simply, I'm requesting that you hold excess spending until a complete inventory is done and accounts, including grants, are reconciled, as you promised at the ballot boxes. And lastly, employees stay at jobs because of 1, the hours, 2, the pay, or 3, the people they work with. When everybody leaves, the problem is not everybody who's leaving. Commissioners, how would you handle these situations if it was your family's business? Thank you.
Thank you.
Comment on the schedule for tonight. We move on to recognitions. Do any of the commissioners have anyone they would like to recognize tonight? None being had, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any questions or concerns about the agenda this evening?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend the agenda and remove the closed session.
Okay. That notation of the closed session be removed. Get a consensus vote on approval of the agenda. All those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, aye. The agenda is approved. We'll move on to approval of the consent agenda. Got 5 items below it: the January regular meeting minutes, the 2023 budget amendment, the Equal Employment Opportunity Plan, 2023 Year of the Trail Proclamation, the Firefighters Relief Fund for the Board of Trustees appointment. Are there any questions on the consent agenda items? There are none.
Mr. Chairman, I have one correction to the minutes, if it's appropriate at this time.
Go ahead.
Madam Clerk, if you could look at page 6 of the January the 3rd meeting, under the heading of approval of rules, under the heading of approval of rules and procedures, the last paragraph there where it mentions my name, get on down to about that next to last sentence, where it says, okay, it does seem like you're right. I believe that's Mr. Miller speaking right there, and not myself. You could just make a notation of that.
Any others? There being none, we'll move for approval of the consent agenda by voice vote. All those in favor of approving the agenda signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? The consent agenda is approved. Next item up is organization board, election of vice chairman. I will open the floor up to nominations.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Yarborough.
I nominate McVeigh.
You have 2 nominations. We have Mr. Yarborough and Mr. McVeigh. We'll do roll call voting. Take the first nomination up and vote for Mr. Yarborough. We'll do the roll call vote. Yes vote is to approve Commissioner Yarborough as vice chairman. Commissioner Holt.
Yes.
Commissioner Rose.
Yes.
Commissioner Yarborough.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeffries,
No.
Commissioner McVeigh,
No.
and Commissioner Dickerson is a yes. That's 6-1. The second nominee, do that. All right, the second nominee is Commissioner McVeigh, to be vice chairman. A yes vote is to approve Commissioner McVeigh as chairman, and no vote is to, vice chairman, and no vote is opposed. Roll call vote, Commissioner Hall. Commissioner Rhodes.
No.
Commissioner Yarborough.
No.
Commissioner Jeffries.
Yes.
Commissioner McVeigh.
Yes.
And Commissioner Dickerson is a no. Congratulations, Mr. Yarborough, you're now vice chairman of the board. Moving on to the next item up, it's discussion items, and it's an update given to us by our clerk of the board, Carla Townsend. Sorry.
Oh, I was just waiting for the slides to go up. But I will start talking in the meantime. Good evening, my name is Kara Donor. I am from VIA Health. VIA is the servicer of Castle County. We serve 31 counties in the state. We're a behavioral health organization, and it's also called a managed care organization. And there are 6 other organizations in the state. We manage care for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, substance use disorders, and also the foster care system. So a lot going on, especially with mental health and opioid addiction right now in the state, as you all are aware. I can keep talking. So I can just go through a couple of updates while we wait on the slides, but one of the really exciting things about Castle County is we are getting ready to open a walk-in center here, right up the street, right next to the Rio Grande restaurant. And that will really help mitigate a lot of the mental health crisis in this county because there really isn't a lot of support right now. But people will be able to come in at any age and get services from, de-escalation to medication-assisted management, and also recovery and counseling services. So we're really excited about that. We are hoping that the opening is around April 1st. And so I'm extending an invitation to everyone here in this room and of course the commissioners. It's going to be an exciting event and with a lot of resources to make you available of. But VIA does several things. But one of them is we track data for the state and particularly the counties we serve. You can go to the next slide. So right here you can see at the bottom, so IDD is intellectual and developmental disabilities, mental health, MH, and substance use disorders. So you can see that people being served in this county are mostly adults. So we manage Medicaid and also people who don't have Medicaid. Go to the next slide. So this is a really interesting slide. You can see how all of the funding is broken out. So most of our services are in this big blue section, outpatient services, and that can be telehealth as well. And you can see this orange chunk that says 23. So that means you have 23 people on the innovations waiver. And an innovations waiver is something that people apply to get for a lifetime. And so it's about $120,000. It can go up to $120,000 a year. but it helps people live independently and get out of a facility. And unfortunately, North Carolina is really known to be an institutionalized state. That is for adults and for children. And so we are working with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services to get away from that. And so each year we try what we do. We take a certain amount of people out of institutions and help them live in the community, which is very successful because of the care supports that we give them. Let's see, what else can I point out? You can see up there, kind of on the left-hand side of the top, crisis services, only 7 people were served. There is no way that there are only 7 people having crisis in this county. So that is why this walk-in center is so critical. And also, we're doing things, amazing things with the Sheriff's Department here. We have, through one of our providers, we are offering a core team. And so what they do is they help come in when someone has been arrested, the core team will be contacted, and they can, ascertain if this person's having a mental health crisis or if they really do need to go to a jail facility. But a lot of the time we can de-escalate it, help get them the treatment they need, and that, of course, takes the burden off the jail system. You can go to the next slide. So here you can see non-Medicaid usage. So some of the time, these can be people who have insurance and they just don't know how to use it, or they need something outside of what their insurance provides, or it can be just people that don't have any kind of health coverage at all. You can go to the next slide. So this is interesting. These are providers that deal with Castle County on the left-hand side. So you can see how many people they saw between April and June of 2022. They provide different services. Youth Haven, for example, about the 4th one down, that provides services for children. You can go ahead and do the next slide. Okay, thanks. So here's the innovations waiver, what I was talking about. This is a very interesting system, and unfortunately, there are about 15,000 people on the waiting list to receive these services. And the amazing thing that I learned the other day is, even though it costs $120,000 a year to help provide services for these people that receive a waiver slot, people who are in an institution, it costs almost triple for people who are in an institution being paid for by the state. So the legislature is trying to up the number of innovation slots we have. So their goal, I believe, is 500 more slots, which won't really get close to the 15,000 we need for the state. So we have a lot of work to do. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. So you can see mental health inpatient admissions to community hospitals here. It kind of varies, and right now North Carolina is in a complete transition of their Medicaid. So right now, by health, we are one of 6 MCOs, so we only provide mental health care right now. And then you have on the other side, Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, kind of more standard plans you hear about nationwide. They only provide physical health. And so the General Assembly and the administration of the state decided that we needed whole person care, which really it should have always been that way. So what's happening now is we are going to be providing physical health as well as mental health and a pharmacy benefit. Blue Cross Blue Shield and United Healthcare will be providing mental health services. So that will change some of our members. VIA will still take care of the sickest members because that is our expertise. We've been around for 50 years. VIA is based out, and I also should say this, VIA is based out of Asheville. So we have recently transitioned to this part of the state from a consolidation with Cardinal Innovations. You can go to the next slide. And this is just a quick snapshot on the substance use disorder admissions. And as you can see, there's no way that's accurate. So what that tells me is that people in this county don't know how to find resources. So we suggested, along with Ms. Gwen, to do a video talking about mobile health crisis. So what that is mobile health responds to a crisis within 2 hours. And they can transport someone to the walk-in center when it's open, or the hospital, or a jail. But really, it breaks it down to really assess what's going on. But I don't think people in the county know about any of the services that we're providing. So we really need to be creative, whether that's posting something possibly on the county website, on social media, to educate the community about what's available. We've even talked about possibly using a billboard. So if, the bright minds in this room have an idea on a way to reach Caswell residents, please let me know, because you know your county the best. So here's another slide about Medicaid follow-up after discharge. So those are pretty good numbers. I'm not sure why quarter one at the bottom, 0%. But out of the 6 MCOs, VIA is really good at reaching out to people and providing wraparound care to make sure people are taken care of. There are performance measures with the state, and we perform in the top 2. Next slide. And then here are emergency department admissions and readmissions. And so this is obviously something we're trying to reduce, because emergency rooms don't have the staff or usually the expertise to take care of people who are having a mental health crisis. And it's also extremely expensive, as you all can imagine. Then next slide. So here's just a little bit more on what we're doing in the county. I talked about some of them, but the first one they're called quarterly crisis meetings, and they have been phenomenal in this county. Law enforcement, EMS, your county leaders come, and they're very engaged. It's a big showing, and we're really proud of that. So we work through issues. This is where we introduce the core, the response model that works with law enforcement. It's where we talk about all of the crisis initiatives and really go over what's working and what's not in the county. You can go back, sorry. Just a couple other things. So I discussed the walk-in center, and we also are helping advise on North Carolina opioid settlement money. As you know, it varies county by county, but Caswell is getting $1.1 million over the next 18 years. And you have gotten quite a bit to start out with, 42,000 and another 94,000 in 2022. In 2023, you'll be getting 74,000 this year. So we can help brainstorm on how to spend that money if you need help with it. Caswell County is very is interesting with the opioid addiction going on, and as we all know, we've heard all across the nation, fentanyl is a major problem. And Caswell County, as I'm sure you're all aware, that you have a U.S. Marshal, a DEA agent, and the FBI all stationed in this county because of the drugs that are being hidden. So there's a lot of work to be done. Some counties are hiring a new school counselor to help with the kids because, they're making this fentanyl look like candy. But a lot of this addiction is stemming from isolation, economic insecurity, and just despair. And a lot of that is due to COVID. So just wanted to let you know that I'm open to having any discussions on some ideas for that funding. Okay, next slide. So the future engagement of VIA, I know that some of you have already been on these meetings, but we have regional quarterly meetings, and we're also having VIA one-on-one meetings, which Commissioner Jeffries is on, and also Ms. Gwen. But those are ways to understand what's going on with BIA, to keep you updated, because so much is moving right now at the state level. So it's a time to ask questions and really be informed, like an intense briefing. So I'm open to any questions. Thank you all for having me, and I appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Yes.
Next up is the acceptance of the Recreation Fund grant. Snow.
Commissioners, we have tonight with us Scott Kendall. I asked Scott to come up to the podium. Before Scott starts to speak, though, this is a group that was founded many, many years ago, the Recreational Development Foundation, RDF for short. We went through a period of time where they were doing really good work, and then it kind of settled down, and not a lot was done. We have a good group of folks that have picked back up that torch, and they're carrying that torch again for the RDF. They're doing some good work. They've hosted a golf tournament, raised a bunch of money with the golf tournament. They've also done some other fundraising. They're involved in the community, and I think their overall goal is just to add more and more programming for our children here in Castle County. So, having said that, what Mr. Kendall is going to speak to you about tonight, there's no county match involved, no county dollars except for regular routine maintenance that we would have to do anyway. So with that being said, I'll ask Mr. Kendall to take it over and talk to you about it.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Commissioners, it's a pleasure to be here again. Some of you may remember I spoke to you all back in August of 22. Since that time, we have received 2 grants, one from the Danville Regional Foundation. That was used to host the Thanksgiving tailgate that some of you may be aware of, that took place the Saturday before Thanksgiving, where we were able to feed 400 families Thanksgiving meals while also host a full day of events. The other grant is what we're talking about here today, is a $12,500 grant received the Community Foundation that will go towards the first phase of our overall current project, which is helping implement the master plan that this board passed back in 2017. Unfortunately for us, we don't have funds to do it in major scale implementations. So first phase of it is installing a new playground over at the Parks and Recreation Department. And the grant received is actually to help support the first phase of that project. What we proposed, and we have worked with Mr. Jefferson and past directors as well with this. We're proposing that with this first phase, we implement a youth fitness course that is geared towards not only fitness activity, but pure enjoyment for the children. This will take place behind Field 2, if you're familiar with the Parks and Recreation Complex. There is just an open space there that currently is not being used for anything. This would fit nicely in there. Again, all we are asking is for approval to have this installed within the calendar year. It is our requirement by accepting the grant that this project be completed by December 31st of 2023. Again, we will pay for the equipment. We will pay for the installation. The only thing we would ask is that as part of normal park maintenance, which this would be minimal to no maintenance, that the area just be upkept. I'd like to open that up if you guys have any questions for me about what we're doing or anything along these lines.
How much did you say the grant was? The one that you...
The grant that we received is $12,500. This project will exceed that significantly. We do have the funds in the bank account to pay this. Unfortunately, it would deplete us, so we are currently trying to raise additional funds, but we are also aware of the county's financial situation, which is why we are not asking for added funds from you today.
Is the amount that the foundation is talking about spending, is that the $37,096.69?
That would include complete installation and everything else. We're hoping in part we can get some of the installation services donated through contacts, et cetera. This is a working project at this point. We just received the funds last month.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve that, make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. We will do roll call voting to accept the grant. Commissioner Holt?
Yes.
Commissioner Rose?
Yes.
Commissioner Yarborough, sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeffries?
Yes.
Commissioner McVeigh?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson, yes. Grant is accepted.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Moving on, the next item up is the proposed insurance rate increase for the county employees. Mr. Miller?
Commissioners, we discussed this previously, that our insurance rates for health insurance are going up 3.3%. That totals, the new figure, 66,580, so it's slightly less than we had discussed, prior. We had discussed $71,000 earlier. That provides a base plan with a $21.93 increase per month. That's $263 a year and 16 cents per month. $21.93 increase per month. $263.16 per year. But the overall total the employee will pay per year is $443.16. So the county has two plans. The base plan, which is what I just spoke about, is a buy-up plan. The buy-up plan will receive a $22.83 increase per month, which equates to $273.96 per year, or a total of $772.80 total per year. Total payment by So the other option is for the county to absorb the cost of the $66,580 in the health insurance premium, and let the contribution by the employees remain as is.
So back up for a second, what is the premium for the first plan in total? You're saying it's a $21.93 a month increase. What does that bring the total to?
Can you ask the question one more time?
The first plan you spoke of, you said the county offers two plans, so $21.93 per month increase for the first one. What does that bring their total premium each month to?
$32,631.84.
Per month?
No, per year.
I think the question that the chair is asking, Mr. Miller, is with that $21.93 increase, what would the employee be paying once that goes into effect per month?
Per month, the employee will be paying $36,000. $36.93.
Okay, so they're paying
$36.93 a month.
paying $15 right now.
That's correct, $36.93.
One question, when does this increase go into effect?
June 1st,
June 1st?
July 1st, I'm sorry.
Okay, fiscal year.
Fiscal year, yes. So that's for the base plan. For the buyout plan, the employee would pay $64.40 per month. Interestingly enough, we have about the same number of employees, close to the same number of employees on the base plan as we do the buyout. It's about 123, 124 people on both plans.
And the increase in the buyout plan is how much per month? I hate to keep asking number of questions, but.
The increase in the buyout plan per month is buyout plan, $22.83 is the difference. So you add $15, you got the total of what, you add $41.57 to that, and it brings you up to the $64.41.
Well, here I go. Don't make me a popular guy, but I gotta point out something here. $36 a month for family plan, or $64 a month for a veteran. I left a job where I was paying $10,000 a year for my health insurance. I don't feel like a $21.93 per month increase to the employee is something that should be sustained by the employee, instead of asking the county taxpayers, that a lot of them are the same boat I am, paying an outrageous amount for insurance, paying more in taxes to subsidize somebody else's insurance at a very low rate.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Muller, you said the total was 66, 580, is that what we got?
Yes.
Well, we're struggling right now, for better words, of maintaining, trying to, keep paying employees. And I hope that budget time, we can look as a board and see what we can do to somehow absorb this. So I'm gonna make a motion that we table this and we move this line item budget to budget time and see what we can do.
Commissioners, we have to know by March 1st what our plans to do. That gives our insurance company time to move forward with printing materials to give to employees during the required meetings that you're required to have as an organization that provides health insurance.
So employees are paying, if they got a basic plan, they're paying $15 a month. All right. Currently.
Yes.
But that will go to $36.93, correct?
That's correct.
Commissioner Jeffries, did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, I know that employees paying $15. We know the cost of living have gone up to tremendous, gasoline and everything else. My suggestion would be that the county pay half, employee pay half the rate. And that'd be divided pretty well. That's what I think.
And I just do want to clarify one thing. These numbers that I'm giving you are for individual plans. The amount the employee pays for employee spouse or family plans, much higher.
So we have to make a decision to either tonight or the next meeting. It's got to be made by March 1, correct?
That's correct.
Well, I think there have been a couple ideas floated. I would think that Commissioner Rose's comment, maybe we put this off at least until the next meeting and discuss ways that we can look at covering this, because I'm not going to put forward if it's going to go back on the taxpayers.
Yeah, I just remind the board that next meeting is a joint meeting with the Board of Education. It was scheduled during the second meeting of the month. So we're happy to take it up at that time if that's what you'd like. And I just want the board to know that's a joint meeting.
Gentlemen, what's the pleasure of the board? What would y'all like to do?
One more question for the manager. Off the top of your head, number of county employees that are covered by the health plan? All of them are?
245.
If we ask them to pay,
Okay,
if we ask them to pay an extra $5 a month, will they be paying $20 instead of $50?
$5 for the base plan, $5 for the pilot plan, $5 across the board for both plans.
Is the buy plan more or less twice the cost of the base plan?
No, it's not twice. Employee only $693. No, it's not. It's probably $40, $50 a month higher.
But what the employee is paying
Is the difference between the two. Yeah.
I just feel like, everybody's insurance is going up. And everybody's struggling right now. I just have a hard time telling the taxpayers that they've got to pay it. I understand, I appreciate our county employees, and I wish I could help them, but we're talking $15, if that's all it's holding in your job. We really don't have that person as a good employee anyhow. I mean, it's just $15 when you're looking at a career.
Sure. Mike.
Yes, sir.
At the last meeting, we sat here and discussed not being able to get people to work in this county because of low wages. We're at 90% of the minimum salary, 90% of the minimum salary. And innovative ways to keep employees is to show them that we are trying to help them, such as if we consume this insurance bill here, that should show some of the employees are the employees, not some of them, all of the employees, that we are trying to help them. And that is an innovative way, a perk, to be able to keep good, valuable employees.
Well, we've had a variety of things floated here from one extreme to the other. And I think Mr. Jeffries had the middle ground scenario in asking that the county employees pay half and the taxpayers are going to line up with the other half. Is there any common ground on the board for something like that, or what do you gentlemen want to do?
Commissioners, I'm more than happy to put together some different scenarios for you and bring those back to you at the next meeting. If you want to take that up during the joint meeting, more than happy to put 3 or 4 different scenarios in front of you.
You want a motion? I make a motion that I want to.
Well, are we gonna have time to do this? I feel like we're being pushed into a quick decision here.
So you want to put it off until the next week? Is that agreeable to everyone?
everybody understand, or we can work it out.
Fine. Put it off to the next one.
Put that off to the next meeting.
You're gonna come up with 3 or 4 scenarios,
That's correct.
like,
You need a motion to table that? Or-
No, I understand what you,
Next up is the emergency services salary, increase proposal. Brian Wilson.
so commissioners, we've spoken about this a little before. I understand you wanted a work session for you. I don't think scheduling worked out to where a work session, was feasible this month. If we go into March, we'll probably be looking at getting into the budget season anyway. We do have the sheriff here with us tonight, I believe, and our emergency service director and our 911 director, I think. If you'd like to hear from them, we do have some numbers put together for you. I just need some direction from the board, how deep you want to go into this, or what's the will of the board?
Good question. What is the will of the board? What's the pleasure of the board? What would you gentlemen like to do tonight?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we put this off until budget time, at such time where we're able to look at what funds we have and what we're gonna have coming in and go through that point. So I'm saying table it until budget time.
I'll say.
We have a motion and a second to table this issue until budget time. We'll do, any further discussion? I think it's a good idea to table it myself, because one thing that's getting this county in trouble is going off budget and spending in between budget cycles, and then pushed into a position where we have to make decisions, snap decisions, and that's going to lead to a lot of increased spending that taxpayers will ultimately foot the bill for. So with all that said, we have a motion on the floor to table it until budget time. We'll do roll call voting. Commissioner Hope?
Which way are you voting to?
If you move forward, you vote to table until budget time.
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Rhodes?
Yes.
Y'all vote? Yes. Commissioner Jeffries? Commissioner Beck? Commissioner Dickerson is yes.
Brother Chairman, can I speak?
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to make sure you understand that the sheriff's office is hemorrhaging. We losing deputies every day. I lost 3 today. Just understand that. The safety of the people of Casbourne County rests with you. God bless, God keep.
Thank you, sir. Next up is county manager updates.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna flip that.
Sir.
That's fine.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a couple of updates for you. I want you to know, number one, that there's been a lot of conversation lately about the industrial park and acquisitions surrounding land in the Gulf Industrial Park. I have laid on your desk a couple of different maps. Just to be clear, I haven't received any formal proposals, but in my conversations, the interested parties are looking at about $5,000 per acre. But, before we move any further, I just wanted to get it in front of this board and kind of get the board's temperature for the sale price of $5,000 per acre. I have provided a map, that somewhat correlates with a past sale. As you can see, the warehouse on the far left of the picture that you're looking at, is part of the Bellum Industrial Park, and it was the last parcel that was sold out of the county's portion of the industrial park. That land was sold in 2020 for about $8,000 per acre, and the board has previously rejected $6,000 per acre by a different developer. But so we've had this discussion before about selling different parcels. I also included in here, packet on your desk, kind of a conceptual design that was put together by Dewberry, I think in 2020, 2021. Anyway, as I said, I really just wanted to get the board's temperature for what you thought about a $5,000 price for the selling of it.
I personally think it's worth a lot more than that. And if we've already turned down 6, I don't see us pursuing that.
I feel like that's why it's 5,000 an acre is too cheap.
I think when that land was sold, it wasn't nothing to talk about, it was just hills and things over there, you know, and then the money they sold it that, but now it's a different. And, you know, $5,000 nothing. I really got to pay because they can put a hotel, anything like that, and make it count.
I agree.
Mr. Miller, the last that was sold, you said was $8,000. Is that correct?
Yes, it was sold to a company called Wells West, and they purchased, or their proposal was plus or minus 8.5 acres. They did build a warehouse on the property, and I think it's occupied today.
That's the one you said we're looking at on that front sheet there on the left.
Yes, that's correct.
And the previous board turned down $6,000 offer on some additional land.
Yeah, yes, that's correct.
I don't see this board accepting 5.
Is that the consensus of the board? You don't need to take a vote. Okay. Thank you. I have another update for you. I've laid an outline. There seems to be a little bit of confusion about the steps that need to be taken to get us through the 2021 fiscal year 2021 audit. So I laid an outline at everybody's desk with the different steps that we're going to have to go through to have that done. I'll reiterate once again that providing a timeline is extremely difficult because very few of these items are in the county's hands. We don't control the auditors, we don't control the CPAs, we don't control how fast they work or how fast they can work. So those things that are in our hands too, many times are incumbent on these other organizations and what they require of us and how fast they finish their work. So I'll just say that's the steps that need to be completed. I'll let you know that as of today, Isley & Associates has not completed the reconstruction of the 2021 system. They have missed their target completion date, but hope to be finished soon. I am going to ask the Isley Group to present to the board at the first meeting in March to give a complete update on where they are and how they are. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have about it. I will say we're also working with the NCACC on this, as well as the LGC. We've passed along some documents as recently as today to the LGC. We also have a meeting scheduled. We've had 2 meetings already with the NCACC, and we have another meeting this Thursday with the NCACC to discuss how they can be involved in assisting us with this.
Mr. Miller, I just have a couple of questions. This contract with the accounting firm, when is that 3 years old?
So so the contract with the audit firm was to provide 3 consecutive years of audits, right? So they go through 3 different audit cycles. They're on the 3rd year, the 2021 fiscal year audit will be the 3rd year.
When did they say did they give you a time frame of when this would be done? As far as the money we paid, is there a time, say July, August? Are they supposed to be done?
So there's a difference between, I just want to make, because I may be mishearing, but I just want to make sure that everybody realizes there's a difference between the CPA firm and the audit firm, right? They're not the same firm. The CPAs, we hope to be finished with them fairly soon. Then, if you'll follow the steps, after the CPA firm finishes the reconstruction, the finance department, along with the CPA firm, then craft the financial statements, which then, the next step, the financial statements, along with another mountain of documents, goes to the auditing firm. Then we have to wait a little bit to find out what the auditing firm says. Oh, we're going to pull this record and this record just to check and make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do. They'll pull different documents throughout the year for different activities that the government performs. So we'll provide those documents. Then that's the audit. So at that time, we're going through the audit. After the audit is complete, the auditors will come to the Board of Commissioners, present to the Board of Commissioners on their findings, and submit the audit to the LGC.
Last question, and you may not be able to answer. How will we be ready for budget time coming up? And the reason I'm saying that, we're facing this salary stuff that came up right. How are we going to know the numbers that we have to be able to make decisions we need to make?
I think we'll have those numbers by the time you need to take a vote on the budget.
Sure. Mr. Miller, looking back at last month's minutes, you stated the Eisner team has relayed to us their intentions to be complete with their work by January the 30th. What's the hold up with them?
So the Isley team needed some further clarification on some items. And we've given them, we're working through those clarifications on expenditures and how they need to be posted. It's not really clear in a lot of situations. One of the things that I want to make sure that everybody realizes is it's not just one system they're working with. There's 2 different systems. So from July 1st through October 30th, they were working, the finance department was working in the ACS system. From November 1st through the rest of the fiscal year, they were working in the unit system. So there's 2 different systems at play here. There's a lot clarification that needs to be verified by our finance department, with the Isley team. They're looking at credit card payments now and trying to figure out how best to go about posting those. We've given them today, I think we gave them a roadmap, right, on how to go about doing that. So, and how I spoke to you about the chart of accounts, right, at the last meeting as well. And how the chart of accounts was messed up from the software part. So if the chart of accounts is not correct, then those credit card payments can't be posted to the correct lines. So that's what they're running into now is the credit card payments, and they need clarification on which lines they go to. So we provided them with a roadmap to be able to do that.
Have they given you another date?
They have.
How long have they been working on it?
A while.
I know that.
It seems like a year.
And we've spent how much with them?
Approximately $100,000.
I guess we're further down the road to being ready for audit. We're not ready yet. Because they don't have everything where it needs to be.
That's correct.
And they not telling you when they gonna have it ready.
They can't give me a firm date.
And they'll be here when?
First meeting in March.
I look forward to hearing from you.
Mr. Miller, $100,000. When we first started talking about this, it was projected, the first amount that came out was much, much lower than that. What is this coming from? How is it dragging out this long?
Well, I don't think anybody realized the depth of, I don't believe anybody understood how bad the conversion was. We could still go into the system, we could still work in, somewhat in the system. It wasn't until we started digging in with the eyes of the team that we figured out, and I shared this with the board, even the new members have seen the draft report Isley gave to us. So you know all of the reasons behind why the finance software was not transition correct. So
Who decided we were using this company?
Isley,
Yeah.
the Board of Commissioners.
From your recommendation?
Yes,
Okay. Did you have a contract with them?
we do have an agreement with them. And the board.
In that contract, did you leave it open for them to be able to take it all they want?
No.
Was there any kind of dates in there?
As
Whichever rabbit you're looking at, just keep it simple, yes or no. Was there a date in there?
No,
Okay. So when you say you have no power to push them, I mean, I'm used to out in the real world here, and we had contracts and dates, and that was the end of it. Do we not have that at all?
creating a contract with a termination date for this company would be like signing a contract to build a building, and you didn't know how big the building was, what square footage it was, or what the soil samples looked like. That's what Isley was agreeing to come in and look at this without knowing what issues were involved with them working on the system.
Then how did they give you a price?
They didn't give us a price.
So that goes back to where it's grown.
Well,
Now it has grown.
yeah, they work on an hourly basis.
$2.10 an hour.
I will say this, that, so the LGC is the governing unit over finance in North Carolina for counties and municipalities. This is the group that the LGC. It's one of the reasons that this group came to us so highly recommended. They do good work. They're just like every other entity in North Carolina right now. They have people all over the state working in other places. And when they contracted with us, it was really like they were fitting us in, right? This wasn't a planned deal. It wasn't where the LGC was contracting with them. We were proactive in the fact that we went out, found the help we need, and tried to get it in here. So they really tried to fit us in to their already existing jobs. And that's one of the reasons that it's taken so long, is because there's all these other places that they're assisting as well, and they're working us in as they can.
And in all of this discovery and the research they went into trying to correct the problems, they found there's been no embezzlement, no wrongdoing, anything like that uncovered?
None. None.
That all the updates?
No, I have one more update that I'd just like to make. So, Commissioners, you may have heard some information about the W-2s coming out late. The truth of the matter is the information for the W-2s was sent to the federal government on January 30th. On January 31st, the W-2 information was available to any employee who wanted to come and to the finance office and retrieve it. A department head meeting on the 1st, the department heads were notified that the bulk packages, which takes us a little time to put together, but the bulk packages for the W-2s would be in their mailboxes on the 2nd. Which is a far cry from February 15th, which is the date recommended that all mailings and distributions be complete. So I just wanted to update the board and let you know that the W-2s were available. That information could have been given to any employee on the 31st. The information went to the federal government on the 30th. And I assume we got a confirmation of that, correct? We got a confirmation of that, so. I'm happy to answer any other questions the board may have about anything.
Well, no questions, we'll move on to commissioner comments. Would any commissioner like to make any comments this evening?
I have comments I have on the 18th, we have our work session. Are you gonna get the commissioners saying what they want to talk about to the clerk? You just, because you don't do that, it's one of them, that's all we can work. Thank you. Are you
One of the items for the upcoming events is number 3, the planning and work session at 9 a.m. We'd like to try to get each commissioner to come up with 2 or 3 ideas that they would like to discuss and submit it so that we can have an idea of some type of agenda going into that. it's not gonna be all inclusive of what anyone comes up with, but it gives them a starting point.
Submitted to the clerk.
Yes.
By the clerk, you got a deadline, you need to.
Yeah, so, I know that's the way we conducted a lot of the work sessions in the past. This is a facilitated work session, so it works a little bit differently. I would, recommend that, commissioners keep a list of 2 or 3 priorities, just like you suggested, Mr. Chairman, and bring those to the work session. And as we go through the work session, those priorities can come out. The way we've done it in the past is the commissioners submit most of the time, not all the time in the past, but most of the time. The commissioners would send topics to the clerk, then we would combine those topics and, you know, if similar topics were submitted, we would include them in one, and then we would just go down the list of those topics. That's not exactly how this work session is set up. It's set up more about visioning. We need to know the board has changed drastically. So what the last board, and I'm going to say the last, they're always the Board of Commissioners, but the last board, the last elected board, their ideas, their vision for the county, their goals and objectives, they may be very different from the board that sits in front of us today. So we as county staff need guidance. And that's what this work session is there to do, is to help build guidance for us. If you look back on the previous work session, we can take just about everything that staff has put forward and tie it back into what was spoken about in that strategic planning work session. So that's what we're looking at doing during this work session.
You satisfied with that?
All right, way more.
If there are no other comments, we'll move on to announcements and upcoming events. Next meeting of the commissioners will be at 6:30, February 20th. February 16th is a joint meeting with the town of Yanceyville and Milton at 6 p.m. in Coat Square. We've already touched on the 18th planning work session. That's 9 a.m. in the Memorial Library, February 18th. February 20th, the Board of Education joint meeting starting at 6 p.m. at the Gun Memorial Library. It will be served at 5 p.m. prior to the start of the meeting. So, gentlemen, if there are no other questions, comments, or concerns.
Mr. Chairman, we have, clerk, I believe, has 2 other items she would like to address.
Thank you. The Tri-County meeting with Rockingham, Stokes, and Castle, the date they have available is March 8th at 6:30. And that would be in Whitworth at the Governmental Center.
I couldn't hear the first one you said.
The Tri-County meeting is with Stokes County, Rockingham, and Castle. It'll be March 8th at 6:30.
I missed the location.
Oh, it's Whitworth, the Governmental Center there. Yeah, I'll send an email after this meeting, just to give you a quick update of all the dates so we can keep them like a reminder. So I'll include that one, but I know it wasn't on the agenda because they just emailed back to confirm that they were good with that date. The second thing was, I just wanted to say that, Ms. Hall sent a thank you card for your, thoughtfulness during her time, of the passing of her husband, and she wanted to make sure that you all were aware. One of Nate's greatest joys was serving as a county commissioner. So she just wanted to thank you all for your prayers, thoughts, during that.
Anyone have any more concerns or questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So move. Second. All those in favor of adjournment, signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned.